Hello YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? I'm going to try to do quite a few videos tonight. This is a fair number of them. Still, this one's all about the Boy Scouts. And I know that I'm not just doing this because of the obvious reasons. That being, they're, yes, okay. Well, I think you know what I'm talking about. They're, what you know, homosexuality basically in Boy Scouts. And I don't really want to do this video just because of that. There's a lot of other reasons. I'll try to get to all this, but the big reason, one of the big reasons I'm doing this, I'm talking about this subject, it has a lot to do with actually, it has a lot to do with something about the United States and other Boy Scouts in other countries. I would think it would have something to do with patriotism for those countries as well. But it has a lot to do with the well-being being here in the United States, of the United States. Now, again, Boy Scouts in other countries I would think would be probably pretty similar there. It's because the Boy Scouts was founded by Lord Robert Baden-Powell, a British gentleman, way back in the turn of the century, and he just wanted boys to be actively about doing good things with their time. If they weren't in school, I mean, I don't know, this is really enough that school wasn't, I don't know. Things have kind of changed a little bit over time, but I must have noticed that, I don't know. The farther back you go, the less organized I think education was in a lot of areas of the world, even in the West. But the Boy Scouts combines education with physical exercise and fitness, with outdoor skills and survival skills, and a bunch of other kinds of outdoorsy and camping kinds of skills and preparedness skills. And okay, so it's really important, and it needs to stay. It needs to stay the way it has been mostly. I'll be honest, I was a Boy Scout because of being Mormon. Everybody who's LDS is expected to be a Boy Scout. It's a little different in other churches. I have had many thoughts about being a volunteer Boy Scout versus being expected to be Boy Scouts. But, if you're expected to be part of something that's a good thing, even if you're not really very into it, it's probably a good thing. But you have to understand, Boy Scouts is a pretty big deal for LDS folks. I imagine it's fairly similar with Catholics, and there's probably other churches that it's not. Again, a lot of times it's more of a volunteer kind of thing. So the merit badges are fine. The whole way the Boy Scouts system is, what the activities, they're all fine. I would always prefer doing more things that are imaginative and more things that were, I don't know. I had my own, I've always had my own likes and dislikes, and so this video isn't so much about that. My grandpa, my dad as well, but my grandpa especially, was very concerned about a lot of things having to do with America, United States, Um, Obviously, things like being able to put up YouTube videos, right? Being able to go to the church you want to go to, or to not go to a church. He cared a lot about that kind of thing. Being able to do that, and being able to express your opinion, and being able to own a gun if you want to, and also how to use it responsibly. Something like that. Responsibly, he cared about being able to protect yourself using a gun, but then, I'm sure he would have thought martial arts was probably a good thing just to do. Um, so, also, my grandpa was really, big on wanting us to know about how the United States started, what the founding fathers wanted this country to be like, what they didn't want it to be like, their hopes and dreams for the United States, or collectively. They all were a little different, but yeah, I mean, like knowing what kind of person John Adams was, what he wanted, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison. You can go down the list. Benjamin Franklin, of course, John Jay, Hamilton, even Burr, even some of the Southerners. Just everybody. Francis Lightfoot Lee or Henry Lee. They all mattered. Some in particular. But my grandpa was a huge scout master. He's very much in scout leader. Huge, and wanted us to know basic skills like basic first aid, basically, and be in decent physical shape, be patriotic, love the United States, or at least love liberty, know the Bill of Rights, know what more than anything, basically, what should the United States be like? So a lot of it's civics and that sort of thing. But okay, so that's my grandpa, and I can mention a lot of things about that. But all this tied right back to me. All this came right back to me, and my brothers and a lot of other people. And so it's not something I take this stuff pretty seriously. There are people I haven't known in my life who gave their life so that I could be able to teach piano lessons and music lessons and be able to have the life I live. And if they didn't make those sacrifices before I was even born, I don't know what would have happened, but it's not likely that I would be living the same way. So, do I care about that? Yes, I do. Very much so. Okay, so with Boy Scouts and homosexuality, because I know it's in a lot of people's minds, what essentially is involved is there's a connection with Boy Scouts, and not just Christianity, but Boy Scouts and being we'll just say traditional values throughout the world. So there is a connection with Boy Scouts and the older values from pretty much every society in the whole world. From we're talking about India, China, Africa, Europe, Americas. Historically, homosexuality was not normal. Whenever there were homosexuals, various cultures had different ways of handling it, but it was never something that was cherished or something that was promoted. Now, okay, you're saying, well, what about Greece? What about ancient Greece? There's other cultures in the Middle East and in Southern Europe and other places that, hey, Greece, they've loved homosexuality, right? Well, so what happened to those countries, those cultures? Not We still know Greece exists right now, but Greece as it exists these days was not ancient Greece. I mean, yeah, you have some connection there, but it's countries do change over time. They retain names and some aspects of their older culture, but every country that's practiced homosexuality in ancient cultures, it hasn't worked out too well in the long run. Somebody invaded them. Uh, you can look at this all up. So now getting back to the Boy Scouts. Well, the Boy Scouts, leaders of the Boy Scouts know this, and their Boy Scouts has to do with boys, teaching boys. Well, what do you teach boys other than these skills and these things that are really good to know? Well, you teach them. There's some degree of what's the Boy Scout oath motto? Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient to what? So let's go through this again. I'm not going to. Scout is trustworthy. Okay, so yeah, we know what that means. Loyal to the United States, to family, God. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient to what? Well, probably obedient to the Ten Commandments if they're Christian. Obedient to the statutes of their religion. Obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean. What does clean mean? Well, I think it's more than just being physically clean. It's probably also morally, spiritually clean. And what does that mean? Well, there you go. That's where we get a lot more into this kind of stuff. A scout is not a pervert. Even if homosexuality is seen as something different than that. A scout knows what is right and wrong, just like everyone else. The scout is committed to doing what's right, and when it comes to matters of sex. And when you have Eagle Scouts that are less than they should be, they know that they need to change their ways, right? But there's we call it Christian if you want to, but Jewish, Muslim, all kinds of folks will still live by the standards that they know that God has set, and so let's take homosexuality out of the picture for just a second here. The word clean means that your inside, your soul is clean, such that if you were to be with God and your ancestors and your family and your loved ones after this life, you wouldn't have any shame looking them right in the eye. And that's not the kind of shame that comes. What I'm talking about is it's not having a full knowledge of everything you've done. You can say, I lived the way that I know I should have lived. And if nobody's perfect, but it's the confidence knowing that you're you're doing good things. You're being good. Okay, so homosexuality is condemned in the Bible. It's the act. It's not the people. It's the act. It's not approved by God. And there you go. It's just no debate. Homosexuality actually is an unclean practice. It's just like certain other sexual practices. They're not clean. And I don't really I didn't want to talk about this subject very much, but this is the Boy Scouts. I'm talking about boys. I'm talking about teenagers. And this isn't just, as you can see, this is not just about homosexuality. It touches on all kinds of other things. But if part of that scout oath involves cleanliness, outside of just not, assuming that everybody washes themselves, bathes themselves, but if we're talking about being, you know, clean, well, then we're talking about, everything from not looking at pornography to, um, you know, again, doing things in such a way that you don't feel shame or guilt. And that's natural to feel that way about a lot of things, but you want to get to the point, you should get to the point, not there right now, where you can do that, and so that's not just for Boy Scouts, but Boy Scouts definitely should be that way because people look up to Boy Scouts. You would think that they should. And if people don't look up to Boy Scouts, there's something wrong with either those people or for the Boy Scouts themselves. That's the way things should be. Boy Scouts should be the kinds of people that say, "Hey, I can trust this person. This person is someone, someone that my little boy can look up to. It's a Eagle Scout. This Eagle Scout's gonna treat him well. Yeah, they're a role model, right? Someone who's admirable." Now, there are admirable people that are gay, but it's a lifestyle that, well, there's no escaping the fact that, again, if it's condemned by God, it's condemned by God. You can't argue with God. You can try dissecting the Bible, everything, but it's right there in black and white. So, I usually, for anybody who feels Boy Scouts needs to across the board accept everybody who's homosexual, more especially with regard to the Scout leaders, being homosexual with no problems. That's what I'm talking about, especially. But everything that you know I'm going with this, and they feel like it's no sin, it's no danger. But often it isn't a danger. I mean, a lot of people that are gay are not pedophiles, right? They're not pedophiles, but wow, this is really not a very pleasant subject at all. But let's just state, I'll put it this way: the more that someone is sexually deviant, someone goes a different course than honest to goodness celibacy or heterosexual relations with just their husband or wife, something other than that, the farther someone goes some other direction, does some other weird practices, eventually they get enough into that, they can start, actually getting more and more actually in reality wicked, and someone could get to the point, hypothetically, where they could become attracted to kids, boys, and that's a very low state indeed. I mean, of all people, Benjamin Britten was someone like that. He got to that point where he wanted to have sex with boys. But there are a lot of things that he went through well before that time, and homosexuality was probably even just a very initial thing, really. So nobody's saying that, but it's a step in that direction a little bit. But of course, and so that's the argument, part of the argument there. But this is the rationale of the Boy Scouts. The leaders understand that there's of course, there's a connection there, even if it's just one of those steps, one of many steps that eventually could lead to someone becoming a pedophile, having those desires. So, how do I feel about the Boy Scouts and their stance on homosexuality? Well, they try to be fair to everyone. You know, goodness knows I wouldn't want someone who's a scout, Boy Scout himself, who's gay. I wouldn't want them to just be forbidden to be a Boy Scout. Should being an Eagle Scout should be required that someone's not gay? It's the question of what that term Eagle Scout really means. But I would think that by the time someone's a Scout Master, or if they're supervising boys, that standard should be quite a bit higher. Quite a bit higher than even the most upstanding, wise, knowledgeable Eagle Scout. Because Eagle Scouts are 14, 15, 16. Scout Master's a grown man, middle-aged man a lot of times, older. He has a huge, huge impact on those boys. Huge. Can you imagine a Scoutmaster who advocates homosexuality? I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, don't tease people that are gay and all that stuff, but someone who would try to promote homosexuality, right? Again, this is this connection with Boy Scouts and religion, or traditional morals, traditional religion. It's controversial, I know. We live in a time when, gosh, I mean, Ten Commandments are on trial. God himself. God seems to he's like anything is about anything. Anytime anybody says anything about religion or God or anything, not just the liberals, but everybody seems to want to put that person on trial. The only person who's on trial is our own selves in this life. Definitely not God. He's definitely not on trial. He's never been on. He's going to be the judge. The judge. It isn't Satan. Satan he's just in the peanut gallery trying to get us to do bad stuff. He's not even going to be there. He's not going to be there. It's God. God, Jesus, whatever. You know. Yeah. So, you know, Boy Scouts simply just reinforces that kind of stuff, along with some outdoor stuff. Does homosexuality belong in Boy Scouts? It certainly shouldn't be advocated. Should not be advocated. I would think that it'd be okay for Boy Scouts to be gay. Sure. Scoutmasters? No, they should not be gay. There might be roles that gay people can play in Boy Scouts, but being a Scoutmaster is, in my opinion, not one of them. Maybe they could be cook for the, Scout troop. Maybe they could be, heck, I mean, I don't know about assistant Scoutmaster, but they have some kind of role to play. It shouldn't be forbidden. It can still be a Boy Scout. There's some very good men that have been gay. There's some men that have tried to be good men, and I realize that, and they've stopped their thinking, maybe whether or not they were practicing gay or not. Especially if they were practicing, I think they tried to stop that lifestyle at some point from going further in any weird direction. And so, yeah, that's something right there. I mean, at least God himself understands all these things better than we do. He's got to see that. And there's certainly worse sins than homosexuality, but it's not a light matter. So, I'm sure I'll get all kinds of dislikes in this one. Doesn't matter. And I don't like to be much franker than I am being on this video. But I thought I'd say something about Boy Scouts. It needs to stay the way it was. And maybe we can get more computers and technology, and that's all fine with it. Maybe have a few new merit badges. Should it change? Should the values that it's always had change? No. If Boy Scouts change, it's just not going to be Boy Scouts the way it was. Now, what I'm trying to say, there's something else to this too. There are many times I didn't have the greatest experiences in Boy Scouts, but there were a lot of times when, yeah, it was pretty cool. And my dad himself, my dad is an awesome man, good, very, very good man, one of the best ever. I put my dad among very best of men. So I mean, that was a huge thing. My dad has been a huge influence in my life, huge. Both my dad and my grandpa. My mom too, but speaking of Boy Scouts, it's just kind of a father-son thing, right? So I can't think about Boy Scouts without thinking about my grandpa and my dad. So yeah, I mean, some of the scouts were mean, some of the scouts were cruel. Scouting is like that for some troops. I totally understand the feeling that many people have. They're teased by some boys. That, in my opinion, if I had my way, I can definitely agree with the idea of scouting being volunteer kind of thing. At some level, it should, or at least, certainly by the time you get into that Order of Arrow stuff, man, you should not feel compelled to be in the Order of the Arrow, or any of those even post-Eagle kinds of things, or being but, just think about what the world, think about what the United States would be like without Boy Scouts for a second. Just think what it would be like. It wouldn't just be that we would know less about how to survive in the wild or what to do in emergency situations. Not just being less prepared, but just think about, would people be better off? Would people be better people or worse people? Probably worse. And certainly less patriotic. And certainly less aware of, I don't know. Because, let's be honest, when you go to church, for a lot of people, it's repetitive. It can start kind of, on some level, start to become kind of meaningless for a lot of people. It starts to mean more sometimes when you are out in the forest and you're thinking about spiritual religious things, or when you're camping or under the stars, or all kinds of things about scouting that are great when they're paired with church. So now you understand why I'm being conservative, at the very least. And I'm not likely to change my mind about any of this stuff. Just not going to happen. I cannot change the Bible. I'm not going to try. I'm still going to be friends with people who are gay. I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to even think about that stuff. But should we have gay scout masters? No. And again, should we have people who are scouters that are gay? Yeah. Because, it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. And we're all brothers, whether we're gay or not. But being a scout leader, again, it's there's a lot to it it does involve being the kind of example that also has a lot to do with moral character. Do I want more people who are gay? No. I don't want to advocate that kind of lifestyle. So, there you go. Leave me your positive or sometimes negative, in some cases, comments below. Fully expect either one. Talk to you guys later.